Hello, good evening, Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Oral Gibbs Live. And with me this evening is none other than Mr. Elton Jones. Mr. Jones is a former commissioner of St. Maarten, and he's my guest here this evening on Oral Gibbs Live. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, thank you, and thanks again for having me on this evening.
Well, the last time I had you here, and I mentioned that you were a former commissioner. A lot of people forget. We have a lot of new people in St. Maarten. They don't realize that.
Well, I don't. You serve your time, you serve your people, and then you move on, and other young people step in and take over the reins. So that's the way it is planned to be.
But it was a difficult time in St. Maarten history. That was just after Hurricane.
It was just after the hurricane. It was during the time. Same time we were under higher supervision, so it was double lash, So, but I think we got out of it pretty okay. We were not thanks to all the people who want to claim credit today, but because St. Maarten people were insured at the time, we came back faster than many other islands in the Caribbean.
Yeah, that was quite a terrible storm. And I gotta say this, that when you look at St. Maarten today, the Minister of Justice, Dennis Richardson, he's a master, man. The man went to Holland and convinced the Dutch government to go along with his ideas, basically.
Well, look, the Dutch like to talk about agreement is agreement. Dennis is a very astute negotiator. They have a protocol. The only thing I blame the government here for is we had, back in the 90s and 95, when we were in the government, we had made a rule that if civil servants come to the island to discuss, they would meet with the sector directors at the time, and they would present a report to government on how to move forward. I don't know where it came from now that the civil servants are coming here and speaking directly with ministers and telling them what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. First of all, it's disrespectful. It's knowing your place, your different level. The minister is at a higher level of union, and no civil servant should be able to speak to the minister like that. I think this guy Bowman should not even be able to come here again. I mean, he's totally disrespectful. How he was able to go to the police department and the prison and take assessment of then decide what he going to do and decide he don't need our help because the police here is no good and thing. Those are insulting things, and I believe that the unions here also are taking it too light. It's not only for the police union, but all civil service unions, WICSU, UPFO, and even the private sector unions, because what you got to understand is if they do it to one group, one service this time, all services become eligible for the same kind of treatment. We can't allow people to come here and abuse our people and overstep them, push them aside. The police here are doing a very good job, a difficult job under difficult conditions with very little tools. But we depend on them for our security. And I don't think we should just push them aside because some people come from Holland, believe they know everything better. They know better than us what we need. And matter of fact, they were not coming here until Dennis get them to stick to the protocol. They were not coming here to really assist in the things that we wanted. They said what they wanted to do. They want to get blue-collar crime. They want to get politicians and business people, and that's it. For the robberies and so, we will still have to be taking care of ourselves. The people they were planning to bring were going to be sitting in the back office and setting up these things. So we will be still stuck with the problems we have.
Well, the thing is, because everyone was expecting that the Ministry of Justice was going to be placed on the higher supervision. That's no longer the case anymore.
What they want to do the minute, look, sometimes I hear the Prime Minister in the past talk about the Dutch having ulterior motives. The Dutch don't have no ulterior motives. It looks ulterior because we're not paying attention to what's happening. But there are certain services they believe they should control totally. Justice is one. They would like to control the port and the airport. And they already have a good input in the civil registry. These are things they want to get, because if you control those things, you de facto control the island. They don't want to really honor any separate status as we believe it to be. And by controlling those things, they could have you feel that you're doing a lot, but you're not really in charge.
But the thing is that our leadership is very weak.
Well, um, the there are people in this island, depend on what colors they wear during election, they will argue about that because they don't take word from their own. But when you hire this government, this country hired Transparency International to do an integrity study. And Transparency International says that the government is weak. The government isn't doing what it's supposed to do to better the lives of people. And the report was very scathing about Parliament. They went as far as to say that Parliament need courses to upgrade them on whatever what they have to do. In other words, Parliament is ill prepared for what they were elected to do. And that for me is a scathing report that you paid for yourself. So to say that the government is weak is not new. Almost every report has said the same thing in different words.
The thing is, we've been saying that here for quite some time. We have to always wait for someone to come from abroad to tell us, and then we accept it.
Yeah, but it's because we have no respect for our own people. We want to ridicule and belittle and speak bad of them. When it comes from a European nation or American nation, we accept it because these people know everything. What is strange about this, we paid a lot of money for this report and others, and today, up to this date, Parliament hasn't found it necessary to debate it. We are handling the country as if it's our little private business. The people needs to know about these reports and how we plan to go forward with it. So there must be a public debate. You can say you put it up on the net and people will read it, but reading it doesn't tell them where you're going from here or where you're planning to take the country from here. When there's a report of this nature about the function of government, the function of the country as a whole, it's in the people's interest and it has to be debated publicly so the public know what's happening. The same thing happens with justice. After the officer was tragically killed, Parliament held a closed door session to see what they're going to do with crime. But it's the people's business. We have a need to know what they're planning to do for us. It's not your little closed door thing where you decide among the elitists and then you leave it as that, because the people are still not feeling any safer out there. You understand? Justice is a serious thing. I happened to be on the road when this incident went down. I didn't actually saw the shooting, but I saw when they took down the first guy that got shot there, and I saw the officer lying on the ground. And I was amazed at the lack of leadership shown by the top brass of the police. The colleagues were around. They were trying to help their colleague, and some of them were emotional. That you could understand when something like that happened. But somebody has got to be in charge and given instructions on what to do. Because I've seen around the world, they shut down large cities, I mean real big cities. Phillipsburg is a small little town with 4 exits. One up at the town by the university, by the bridge, and over by Great Bay. How would somebody commit a crime or some atrocity like that and get out of Phillipsburg? Phillipsburg is the easiest place to shut it down and then make a sweep. Nothing was done. These people should not have been able to get out of Phillipsburg if there was leadership. And it says a lot about where we are as a country in terms of emergency preparedness. Because if something like this happens, we can't handle it. When bigger things happen, it's going to be total chaos. There must be a plan. At the airport, when I worked there, it's still so, you have to have a plan in place for calamities because you're dealing with other people's lives, you're dealing with a lot of tourists coming in. And St. Maarten is inviting, via the cruise ships, over 2 million a year to come here. We need to be seen as if we know what we're doing. And it didn't look that way that day there.
Yeah. It's quite ironic, because I go back to a few years when I was the first person to draw the people on this island attention to poverty on this program. And what I got was ridicule and criticism from politicians and political parties. And I was even accused by one politician that I was instigating the people against the government. Let's fast forward now. It's not Oral Gibbs saying anymore that we have poverty. Transparency International comes to St. Maarten at the request of the government, paying for the report, and states, well, poverty is over 70% on St. Maarten. I didn't hear anyone complaining. In fact, it's like the government is not aware or doesn't even hold a position on that report or want to even discuss it. How do you feel about that?
Look, we have been dealing with this poverty issue for quite a while. It's like some people, you invite guests to your home and you take the little bit of dirt that is on the ground and sweep it onto the mat. Everybody knows what's happening in the villages. I heard the argument from one department that it's not 70% because they use the wrong figures. But even if it was 50%, it's too many. And not only that, but what are you doing about it? None is being done. There are people here living way below what we consider the poverty line, which is the minimum wage and below, and none is done. There are people living in the areas I go on Sundays and visit some of these areas. Some people don't have electricity and running water today, 21st century in St. Maarten. And we could find what excuses we want. When David Dick was Minister of the Netherlands Antilles, I know if you remember, once he came in, he said St. Maarten is important poverty. And everybody took him to task because, criticizing them was
He was
not a
Minister
good
of
thing.
Justice at the time.
He was Minister of Justice at the time. But what he said was true. If you import people to the country, they must at least have a level of education or have some money that they're going to invest or something. You cannot continue to import street sweepers and ditch diggers and so, because how many of them do you need? And what becomes of them later? These people basically are not contributing anything. They're economic migrants who are looking for jobs, following economies around, but they contribute nothing really, and they become a burden to your society. That is why the St. Maarten Medical Center is in the problem. The schools are in the problem because we let all kind of people in and they just run to the schools. Now I see that immigration has implemented a new policy, but before that, people were coming here, and a week after, bringing their children and check them into school.
It's
There
still
was
happening.
absolutely no control. Now immigration don't let you have your children stay longer than a month. You have to put them out. So they're beginning to tackle it. But I'm saying we have let things run wrong for so long. It's difficult now for us to catch up, but it's not impossible. But we have to be doing something. Parliament knows what's happening. The executive branch also knows what's happening. But somebody has to take command. There must be leadership, and it's not being shown in this country. It's hard to find somebody who's taking the bull by the horns and saying, this is where we're going.
Today in the paper front page, 1,612 persons registered as either physically or mentally challenged on a 16 square mile island.
The numbers is huge. It's a scary thing. I believe it doesn't really matter if you can sort them out to who is from where. That doesn't matter. The fact is they're on St. Maarten, and now they're our problem. How do we deal with it? Because the same thing as you have the crime rising because of the unemployment and the uneducated children who can't fit in to the market or into society, you have the same thing with these. Just now you're going to start having them like in other countries. They're going to be, day 2 will be committing delinquencies, and day 2 will be sleeping all about on the road and on the cardboard box because they have nowhere to go. We have allowed these things to fester, and it's almost out of control in a small society. These things can be tackled. They should have been tackled before, but again, we're into the cosmetic things, the things we can show. Big airport, big harbor, nice boardwalk, well, tiled front street that now looks like any other dirt road. But, we show those things. We hardly go out of Phillipsburg to show what is really there. And people are suffering. There are people who can't put breakfast on the table in the morning. School just started. Many people couldn't pay the school fees, uniforms. We are in that thing, but we don't speak about it. And those are things that you elect a parliament to look into. Parliament is being paid to work full-time jobs. That's why it's so. They only go to parliament when they go meeting there. You could name on your finger out of the 15, you could name those that go to the building. Some of them never go unless they have a meeting, and they say they're walking on the street. So if they're walking on the street, which is quite possible, but who are they talking to? If they're not feeling the pains of the people not knowing what's happening out there, who are you talking to when you're walking on the street?
You know, it is quite difficult because when you look at this, people that come to this island as visitors, they're so impressed. They all want to stay. Go home, come back, and stay because this is like paradise. But then, if you're sitting tonight and you're watching a show like this, I mean, it's like we're here speaking about poverty, we're here speaking about Transparency International report, doesn't look good for St. Maarten. Is it real? Or we have two St. Martins, one we don't see and one we do?
You surely have two Samaritans. What we show the visitor isn't what the little guy is living. Those people who have the opportunity to display the country know how far they will take a visitor. We bring visitors here I talk about the independent committee, and we take them to, the hotels they stay, take them to lunches, to dinner, and we don't go down into the Nazareths and those other places because you don't have that time. But the government bring people, or people who come here, they don't go in those areas. They try to avoid those areas because to see the poverty, you really have to go there. People are trying their best. People are struggling. Just last week when this storm was passing, a lady was texting me from Belvedere. Yeah, we're here in Belvedere. Nobody came to look us up. Nobody came to see if the houses are secured and things like that. We don't look out for our own people. We just forget people and let it go as it is.
But the island has changed a lot, and it's still 16 square miles, the Dutch part, with a registered population of sort 55, 56,000 people, and another illegal population, undocumented, of what, 15, 17,000 people.
About that. Look, the numbers are always going to be what it is. We cannot continue to invite people here, labor or anything else, while we have a problem with unemployment and we have a continued rise in crime. I heard from the Minister of Justice that they were going to be changing the policing of Phillipsburg. They're going to be changing some of the codes, the penal code, which is quite possible. I think one of the things you need to look at is, as they do in the United States and other countries, when people commit certain crimes that are considered to have shocked society, even if they have papers, when they serve the time, they should be put out. People don't have a right to be in other people's countries. It's a privilege. That's why you have to clear immigration. That's why you get time to stay. But you have to be a good guest. You have to live up to certain rules. People can't come into your house and turn it up and then stay. If they have no respect for law and order, they should be put out. You have to deal with your own delinquents. Unfortunately, we have those too, and we have to deal with them, but we don't have to deal with taking care of everything that comes. And many of these people, and it's our fault we're in the situation, many of these people were put out of, who are here now, were put out of the United States, Canada, England. So these people don't go to any country, they come to St. Maarten now. And if we weren't so lazy, we can go on the net and check these people when they come in, because the information, if you go in the US criminal file, you will see these people's name. You see they have files on these people. We don't do no work. After they get in a problem here, then you hear what they did in other countries. So how did they get in here? What did they put on the immigration form when they come in here? We're not doing our work. Security is not what it should be. And we could blame it on who we want. The fact is, we're allowing these things to happen.
Because, I mean, I'm sure that the U.S. government share information with our Border Patrol.
Of course.
Control. So it's so strange because we have so many problems. And I want to jump to this other part now where finance, the Ministry of Finance, apparently might be placed on the highest provision or some instruction as they use. And I don't know what they mean by instruction. But I'll tell you one thing. The current Minister of Finance has all been saying that the payroll of the government is a concern. That the government is hiring. And if you look back at St. Maarten during the 70s and the 80s, the government was not the largest employer on St. Maarten. In those days, the private sector, namely Mulla Bay, was the largest employer. What you're seeing today is a government, the government of St. Maarten as the largest employer on the island. You're seeing the turnover tax there at 5% increase from 3 to 5%. You're seeing young people unemployed in large numbers. And you're seeing a government that is supposed to be for the people of St. Maarten, employing other people from all other countries except to St. Maarten. We are heading for disaster, and in my view, I don't know how you see it.
Oh yeah, definitely heading for disaster. A few things about the instruction though. One of the things St. Maarten is in right now, when we changed in 10, it was supposedly so that we were going to start on neutral grounds. All standing debts would have been paid off, and they did it for the Netherlands, and they did. But when our turn came, they said we were too late. So St. Maarten didn't start on even footing with everybody else. St. Maarten built from its own budget, built the country from the ground up. So you need budget room to do that, but we weren't given any budget room. You may not have a deficit of 2 guilders, I mean, so to speak, nothing at all. So it's difficult. Those are the pressures. Now, the ability of the Minister of Finance to negotiate with people that we have debts with, so the SZV in the pension fund, which is the largest debtors we have right now, the CFT has put a time limit in it. So you shrink in the hand of the people I'm negotiating because they know I can't bargain how I want. I got to stay within those lines. See, and the most you could stretch it out, you're in 2015 now, so the end of the year basically, because it's the 9 month. So you have 2 more years to get the money to pay it off, and I don't see how it's going to happen. We are. I think it is unwise to raise turnover tax again. We have said it's going to be a temporary thing when we did it last time, and temporary turned out to be permanent. I think if you look at the way businesses are closing down, I think it's a terrible thing. As far as the employment with government and private sector is concerned, government is on a track of employing only Dutch people, Surinamers, and Curaçao. The tax inspectorate had an survey some time ago. They bring in people from Curaçao, put them up at Port-au-Prince, give them cars. They don't know nobody, had them drive around, do that. Today, the SZV did the same thing, bring in people from Curaçao who knows nobody to go around and do a survey for them. And over and over, even
But TLM did the same thing too.
Even government companies do that. It seems like we have no intention to employ local young people. We can do this, the young people from school can do the same summer jobs they're bringing in people from the other islands to do. We are not treating our people well. Secondly, because government is leading by example, the private sector is doing the same thing. The private sector don't hire local people. If you walk up Front Street and back street, you'll think in Guyana, someplace where they're only Indians, because we don't see our people working. All of these people are important people to work, and our people are crying out for jobs. And it's becoming very dangerous and explosive, because when you speak to people in St. Peter's, South Reward, and those other areas where we pull the curtain so you don't see them, the kids tell you things like, oh, we don't care about no tourism, but they ain't doing nothing for me. But that's the feeling they get when they don't have a stake in it. They don't have a part in what's happening, because they see everybody doing well, everybody come and do well, and they can't even get a job. We make it difficult for our people to work in their own country. And it's going to come to a head someday. I am scared of what's going to happen, because you try and speak to them, but they have complete different ideas of how things should be and what changes it.
You're on live call. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Jones and Mr. Gibbes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm speaking the truth here. I ain't got not called to add to it, except one thing I just want us to do is start to make sure that things happen here before the cook away the fan, because I'm telling you, what this gentleman is there saying on TV is exactly what everybody, the same sentiments we have out here. Mr. Jones looked like he does be on the road a lot. He know what's going on out here. It's just too much. This place is full, and we ain't got no room for even one of us. Everybody coming and make no toast dollar. We can't get a job. My youth, what about my children? I have older married young children. What about their future? I am worried. I am worried, and the politicians. I wonder if it's just like when a woman pregnant, that a man don't know how she feels. He like say, yeah, you know, you feel. We don't know how a pregnant woman feels because we never been pregnant. Is it so for the politicians with the poor people out there that they don't know how we feel or what the sentiments out there? Because, like he said, like Jones said, the buses don't come down Dutch Quarter, go to certain places. They don't want people to see. Like Jones said, the full call thing. Things have to change here because I'm telling you, it's boiling out here. It's boiling. You don't see the kind of the crime is 17-year-old. Even the fellow that got shot after the cop, you know, he was a young fellow who shoot the man, you know. The victim himself told me that it was a boy about 17 years. Good night, gentlemen. Please, I'm worried.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. I wanted to hold that thought. Let me just take this other call, okay? Earl Gibbs live and caller. Hello. You there?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, what I want to say is you can fool all of the people, some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Now, Front Street and Back Street, how many taxes do they pay? You talked about helping the people in Belvedere, but you didn't tell them that all Front Street and Back Street and all over the place are not paying taxes to help the poor man in Dutch Quarter. Tell the people the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
Yeah, look, the tax inspectorate, I honestly don't think that they're being fair across the board because they know certain people by name and certain people where they live. I don't think everybody is paying their fair share, and I think the people who make most pay the less. I know in the cases of some of the casinos, some of the large properties on this island, they hardly pay. So these are the people who always threaten to close down when they're being assessed because if they have to pay, they don't have to lay off people. Don't. And this is an old trick has been used over the years so that these people don't pay and they're allowed to get away. But you would get a dwangschrift to pay because they easily come at you. And the people who owe the bulk, we're trying to, for the last 3 years now, we've been trying to raise 50 million to balance the budget, and we can't get it. But we have more than that out there in taxes, but we just have to go after it.
Okay. Earl Gibbs. I think, and the other caller before that was in agreement with what you were saying about crime, etc., and so forth too.
Look, we have to find jobs. One of the things that government has tried when I was working in the department is to send kids to train, but even though they need training, they need money now to put food on the table. So if you send them to train, you'll have to pay them.
Yeah. Let me take a call for you. Earl Gibbs live and caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you're on live caller.
Hello, hello.
Yes, go ahead. You're on air live. Turn your TV off, please.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes. Well, what if I know from you?
Can you do me a favor, sir? Can you turn your TV off, please? Please turn.
Hello?
Can you please turn your TV off?
What I want to find out too from you all. Okay. These among the.
Earl Gibbs live. You're on caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you're on live caller. Go right ahead.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I have one complaint to you guys. The problem with the youth on St. Maarten, when we look for a job, we're not getting it. That's the thing. And it's not fair because foreigners coming off of different countries coming in the island and they're getting jobs before us.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. How old are you?
All right, that's all I have to say.
How old are you? Hello? Well, I guess, yeah, we can hear the...
One of the things I have offered when I was on the program last time to assist people with this job seeking thing, you have to put a program together. Nothing has happened in the past. People have signed up by the labor office, and when they went, people still turn them away and tell them they could go where they want. You have to have a structured approach to get jobs. People from this country should not have to walk around knocking on doors and watch foreigners benefit from an economy that we built.
But you're not going to say this. The caller didn't want to hold on when I asked the age. There's a reason why I did that, because of the way she stated the question. And I think we got to be careful because I've been an advocate for people the same with you. So can't blame us. We're trying to solve the problem as best as we can. Let me take a call for you. All Gibbes live and call. Hello.
Yes, I would like to connect the program, please.
You're on the air live. Go ahead. You're on the air live, so go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Warren, Mr. Jones.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like for Mr. Jones to address the situation at the cadastre where this gentleman had a criminal past and that the Dutch apparently sent him back to St. Maarten to state out his contract, etc., etc. The other thing, again, I think that today the government had a job fair, and I don't think it was sufficiently publicized so that people knew about it. Okay? I think I also like for him to address that.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Okay, as far as the cadastre is concerned, the Dutch, some months ago, if you remember, were talking about class justice because in an investigation they didn't go after Theo, they didn't, but this is also class justice. And the Dutch could, in their system, they can give anybody off as long as they want. It's my government. I have to see how my government is going to look at other people in Saman who had less problem than that they wouldn't give a job and bring this guy back and put him back in cadastre. He should not have been there in the first place because that's not a position given to foreigners. But I don't see how you could take a convict now and put him to head such an important division.
But we can't blame the Dutch. You got to blame the Minister of
That's
Finance.
what I'm saying. We have to deal with it here. That the Dutch send him back, that's good for them. I can't tell them how to run their system. If we put him back in cadastre, that's where the problem starts.
And I think the ball is now in the court of the Minister of Finance. He should act, and he should act immediately. Yeah. Let's take some calls here. Oral Gibbes live and caller. Hello. You're on live, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm calling in regards to that you were just a young lady called pertaining the crime situation. But the problem is with a lot of these young ones, even if you give them a job, they don't want to work. Most of them, I'm not saying all, they want easy lifestyle living. When you leave to go to work, I go to work, and they just sit around the neighborhood, checking to see, timing you, knowing when you're leaving, when you're coming, who lives or who don't live there. Then they send and the group of them from all over, out from the main road, they're checking, sending them all around your house to come in and break in. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. So when you ask about her age, she's not going to give her age because I'm sure you give, I'm not saying her, but you give them a job, they prefer sell drugs, breaking our homes. Then that lifestyle, not all, but most of them, that's what they want. They want easy living. That's the problem we have here in St. Maarten. And when we start sending messages, when they start seeing body bags, when you come and people here and you see body bags, they will know. They will get a lesson because now it's unbearable with these young criminals that don't want to work all day. They're by the windows, they're all around in the bushes, stalking people's homes. That's what they're doing. That's the lifestyle they want here. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if they don't want to work. One of the reasons why I think a lot of employers in St. Maarten hire outsiders more than locals is they exploit them, they can underpay them. I know people here working in certain jobs for 15 or more years and still making minimum wage. I don't think minimum wage was instituted so you make it for the rest of your life. Young people want to work, but they're not going to accept being exploited by people. They do the work. If you work at, for instance, in casinos and jewelry stores and things like that, and you see the turnover and you're still making 1,100 guilders, of course, you're going to have people don't want to do that. Nobody wants to be enslaved. You should pay a fair pay for a fair day's work.
Oral Gibbes live and caller. Hello.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Gentlemen.
Good evening.
You are speaking words of wisdom. But understand this. Will Johnson of Sabre, he solved the problem of Sabre some time ago by going to the United Nations. Now listen carefully. Now, we have a parliament of so said well-educated persons found it requisite to ask Palestino to represent them. Where are we going? We have a weak government. Definitely we have a weak government. We don't have anybody to. No doubt they want to go racing towards Palestino. They know why.
Are you there? Hello? Well, I guess he's finished. Let me take another call if you need. Okay. Or give live and call. Hello?
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
The last person gave us minimum wage a raise was Louis Lavis. Nobody else think about other people. None of the other commissioners, them are parliamentarian, them think about working for minimum wage. The last person was Louis Lavis. May the Lord bless him.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree, you heard it, but believe me, everybody in Parliament knows that the minimum wage is not even a living wage. If you live in St. Maarten with a house rent, if you take government housing in Belvedere, where people are paying like 1,100 guilders, if you make 1,400 guilders, there's very little you could do with the other 300 when you have to pay GB and the other things, school fees and so. They know the minimum wage is not a living wage.
Oral Gibbs live and call. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Arel.
Good evening.
Yeah, to you and Mr. Elton. Okay, I want to
Good
pose
evening.
a question to you all. Okay, you know, when the children have to go away to study, okay, you're hearing 50 gone up, 70, and the education minister goes up with them. But the problem for me, you never hear how many of them coming back. I don't know if they have files if they do come back, and are they making the preparation to call for these kids to come back, you know, to develop the country? Because we don't, all we hear, okay, this education minister gone up with 50 children, 60, but I even though we have end up to zero come back or nothing come back. And what causing them not to come back? Because it don't seem like they encourage the children to come up to build up the country as a young country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we have spoken with some people from the other islands on how they do these things. One of the problems with people who finish study and don't want to come back home is that they get nothing when they return. This government, this country, pay outsiders astronomical amount of money, give them car, give them house, and even give them vacation tickets back to their country when they work first. When a young person come back to St. Maarten, a young local person come back and trying to start a career, start a life, the same government that does all this for the outsider says to the local, go and live with your parents. But this person went to study, they're now independent minded, they're trying to start their own life, they are entitled to the same privileges and perks you give to the outsider because they have studied and they are professionals, and there's no reason why we can't grant them the same things. That's how you encourage your people to come back.
Mr. Lake mentioned Will Johnson going to UN and that we have Palatino and we should use the influence.
There's I saw a document from Palatino where Palatino has agreed to take up our cause at the UN and for Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, even St. Eustatius. My problem with it is this. You could have somebody go to the UN and all you would achieve basically is to embarrass the Dutch. But my position is not to embarrass them. You have to know what you do. What would you go to the UN and say? That they're treating you bad? We know that. What are you willing to do about it? You know, we have signed bad agreements. We, in our eagerness to get country, as we call it, we have signed all kind of agreements. And today we are noticing that the agreements is basically that the Dutch can do what they want, when they want, under the guise of the guarantee regulation. We could go to the United Nations, and the Dutch is going to say what I have been saying all the time. No, the Antilles or the former Antilles are not colonies, but only in colonies you could step in and do what you want when you want. We are colonies, and if we're going to really want to have action, we have to go back on the colonial list, and then we could fight the Dutch for true sovereignty, true freedom. But if you're going to you can't have it both ways. Like the late Claude Watt used to say, you need a fish and a fowl. You don't want to be one thing, but you're not the other. It can't continue that way. Going to the United Nations is a good idea. My friend Will Johnson went to the United Nations, and he went to, what you do is tell your story. But at the end of the day, it changes nothing. If you want Palatino or even CARICOM to take up your cause and go to United, you got to know what the next step is. You can't, if the idea is just to try and embarrass the Dutch government, don't make sense. Makes no sense.
Someone was saying all the prime minister have to do is just go and stand in front of the UN building in New York.
Exactly. But look, the prime minister this is basically, you can call it a business cabinet. He's put there to do a job. The real leadership is in the hands of the up leads this government. So Mr. Heiliger has got to take a position, or the up party and the coalition may have to take a position, take it back to the people in the referendum and say, this is where we want to go. This is going to continue forever. They have just did an evaluation of the financial supervision. They put Mr. David Caceres to do it, Mr. Caceres. Mr. Caceres, that in itself is a conflict of interest. He has shares in the Windward Island Bank. Government does business with the Windward Island Bank. He's protecting his, why would I not say he's protecting his interests? I mean, these things are happening, and he's going to say what the Dutch want. It suits his cause, fine. It doesn't, all the agreements we made that if you balance your budget, then it's now they bring other conditions. As you play the game, the Dutch keep moving the goalposts. So you'll never reach the ideal position for them because they have the ability to change it.
Well, according to them, financially we are still teenagers.
That is true. That is true. We don't have the luxury of being 300 years in trade, 300 years in plundering and running other countries and things like that. But it's unfair for a country that is three centuries or more self-governing to expect me to be the same thing as they are in 5 years. The United States is one of the youngest democracies since their revolution, and they do things differently, but it takes trial and error. You have to make laws, you amend laws. That's why they have all these amendments and stuff like that. We're not going to get it overnight, but it is not so that if it's dictated from The Hague, it's going to be better. Because at the end of the day, we elect our people to run this country, and if they don't do what you want to do, you kick them out. But you cannot be inviting civil servants or others from Holland who are rude and disrespectful to tell us what to do in our country. We don't have it all right. We don't have all the answers. And God knows we need help. But help must be on our conditions. You can't come to help me, tell me what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. At the end of the day, it is still our country. If you bring people to make a development plan and say they're putting plans that no politicians or Maarten thing can't touch, what does that say? Whose country is it? Who they're putting the plans for then? We cannot continue to have outsiders come and set the stage for us because this country belongs, listen to me, when slavery was abolished, no? When, as the document says, His Gracious Majesty find it necessary to grant us our freedom, they paid the slave owners for the loss of the slave. They paid them for the property. The slaves didn't get anything. We were left here to literally suck salt. And that's what we did. We suck salt and build this country. Today, the country is where it is. Everybody wants to take it over again. Everybody knows what has to happen. Everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. But the people that build this country and the children of those people that suck the salt have a right to inherit this country. And we cannot today, as the older folks, let that happen, because what do you tell your children after? What did you do when this was happening? Just sit down and fold your hands? There is something to fight for. There is a country to fight for and a people to defend. And the politicians, the leadership, and every other person who's able-bodied person should really stand up and do just that. Our children has to do better in their own country.
You know, every time I bring you here in the program, you've been here now 3 times for this year.
Yep.
The response from the audience is just overwhelming. It seems like a lot of people are expecting so much from their political leadership. They're not getting it. We have a parliament that, and Mr. Halliger said it here the other night on this program, all 15 parliamentarians, all 15 are their own leaders.
But that is the problem with farming coalitions. If you bend over backwards to keep a government together, you give up everything. So everybody become a government, and everybody's going to break the government if they don't get this, and if they don't get that, and if they don't. That's what's happening. So what you do, you give everybody have a minister in the idea that Parliament is the highest body, which is true. Some of them understand that to mean you drive back up in front of the administration building, run upstairs and tell the minister what to do. That's not the way you supervise the minister. The minister is supervised from Parliament. You bring him into Parliament to give answers to the people. It's not for you. It's for the people, and that's how it's supervised. We have Transparency International says Parliament is not prepared for the job they have to do, which is true, because if you see the way they behave, they're not really doing what they do. If you have critical reports about the country and it's not being debated, you have reports on the medical center. There's a problem at a medical center just this week. A local doctor was getting problem because Mr. Best, again, an outsider heading, holding a high position, man, decided the local must work under a Dutchman, and he created a thing. But these things happen because you hear nothing from Parliament. Everybody does what they want in this country because the people in St. Maarten can depend on their leaders to stand up for them.
It is very nice to see you have brought Mr. Jones. Everything that he has said here is very enlightening.
Thank you.
I have about 51 years here, nearly 51 years on this island, so I'm an alien here. But what happened is this: some of the things that we're speaking about, this started previously with previous government coming down all the time. So the people then had to be, the people reaching a stage where they accept things as it's happening. In nearly every country I have visited for the longest while, especially the United States, Virgin Islands and all of that, Seneca is an example. You don't have to be all native from the time you need a job, you have to get a job. You get a job. Just like how the speaker categorized front street and back street. These things have no right to be happening, but the people in these places getting to realize sooner or later they're going to have an eruption. This is why the town is practically locked down. People are used to be breaking glasses and all of this thing, and no time in St. Maarten since I hear. But we have shutters now. I don't know what the shutters are, but they're thinking far ahead about what the shutters will think and what the shutters will say. But as I walk around, I have children born here, I hear their attitude. They look like, and everybody coming to understanding. They can't blame the government, but they want to blame somebody, so they use it and they blame the government. This is why we had this gentleman here as the Justice Minister. He was a civil servant over in Holland, and they sent him over here as governor, and his term was completed. And he, like every one of the governors, they still enjoy their life here because this is a very beautiful country. I admire that. So he knew exactly how to get along with those Dutch that they cannot tell him nonsense because he knew everything. So this is why I hope that the people, all the workers, especially the young people who are unemployed,
only have about 20 seconds.
Have a job and ask for a job.
Only about 20 seconds, sir.
All right, then I guess I give somebody else a chance, yes?
Okay, good.
Okay, then. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So.
Yeah, look, Dennis, the Minister of Justice, Dennis Richardson, is an experienced civil servant. He's an experienced administrator. But what people still need to understand, as I've said before, Mr. Richardson came in there as a professional minister. He's not the leader of government. The leader of government has got to tell you where they're taking the island, not the ministers. Except for Mr. Claret Connor, none of the ministers there were politicians. So it's basically a business cabinet. And that's why the position or the direction the country is going into have to be made clear by the government of this country, the leader of this country, and who is de facto today, Mr. Theo Heiliger.
Now, they're reshuffling the government today. 2 new ministers came in, so now they're up to their max.
They're up to their max, and I hope that one of them I don't know too well, but I know Mr. Boseman well. I think he's competent for the position. But he's worked in the labor department for most of his career. He has been a labor mediator. I don't know what is going to change because at this time of labor department, where they also had a database or a ledger on people seeking jobs and they were not able to find more jobs for people. So I hope he will have more success as minister because he'll have to be dealing with the same businesses, the same people. And I hope that the young people and other people seeking jobs will not have to be frustrated again.
Mr. Jones, you know, we're just about out of time, but I want to give you another 30 seconds in closing.
Okay, I'm still appealing to. I've gotten last time I was here, I got a call from about 3 people who wanted to really look at the possibility of how they could get jobs. I need young people to come because it's one thing to say we're not getting jobs, but also you got to get up and make something happen. Nothing is going to come to you. I'm willing to help. I don't want no pay from you. I'm on pension. There's a structural way to go about it, and you're not going to call me on Monday and have a job Tuesday, but I can guarantee you if we toe the line, we're going to have jobs because we're not supposed to be begging jobs in our country when everybody else is doing well. Have a good night, and I hope I've been informative.
Well, Mr. Jones, thank you for being my guest, and thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
And that's it for now. See you next time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.